In this episode, Ryan and I discussed the importance of shared philosophy and how to think about who to work with. We enjoyed it. Hope you do too. Thank you for listening. Welcome to the Banking with Life podcast. I'm your host, James Neathery.
And I'm your co-host, Ryan Griggs.
And here we are in a beautiful, Saturday morning, deep underground, undisclosed location, combating the coronavirus, COVID-19, and the suppression of free economics, whatever's left.
Yeah, whatever's
free
left.
Economy. Okay, so I, as usual, per usual, sit down without, notes or topics, but I quickly made some notes in the last 5 minutes.
We always have plenty to talk about, and it's better when it comes naturally, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, it's okay to be organized.
There's no shortage of scripted, planned out material on YouTube and throughout the internet. It's strategically placed in the click funnel, right? It's
for content marketing.
There's plenty of that.
I had a conversation with an individual. He called, nice guy, and he's like, James, looked over your website, looks pretty good, and looked over some of your social media platforms. It looks, pretty good, but that sure is a lot of work. I've created a inbound marketing program for advisors. And, you're in my inner circle, so I want you to be in the beta group. I hadn't talked to him in a year, right? And he's just a nice guy, but he's telling me what I'm doing with marketing and how hard it is. And God bless him. I just said, hey, Mr. So-and-so, how much premium did you write last year? In the middle of his, presentation to me. And I said, oh, okay, thanks. Send me the email.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I don't look at this as marketing.
Right.
I don't have a click funnel.
And I'm sure we're not expressly accused of that because...
No, it's a side eye. It's a sidearm, left-handed compliment.
It's whispered.
Well, you're doing it. You're marketing.
We're not really the type of personalities you can just come forward and be like, no, what you said is not what you are really doing. But it's not marketing. I mean, there's a application to the agent side of things, and when the perception of what goes on in the industry is just so wrong that we can just split commissions. Stories from the front lines, prospect, suspect calls in, didn't call in, emailed in, scheduled a call, got on the call.
Doesn't he have your phone number, your cell phone number?
Nope, that's been removed as far as the people who have my number are my clients.
And I bet you they don't abuse it either.
They're so respectful.
Mm-hmm, of course.
It's so wonderful.
So I won't put it in the show
Clients are
notes.
wonderful. They're
Unless.
So at 15 minutes through, we do the first step in the process is a 20-minute call. I still will say, I've modified it a little bit. It used to be I'll give 20 minutes to anybody. And then you've poked at me a lot for that. So it's now modified. It's like, there's a bit of screening. I'll give 20 minutes to almost anybody.
Sure.
And so we do and then 15 minutes through, this guy, we had a pretty good conversation. And then towards the end, he said, well, I've got my life insurance license. So an important part of this for me in choosing an agent is that, we just make sure that it's clear that we're going to split the commission.
Because you are overpaid.
Right, yeah.
And that earning, that compensation is like, grossly unearned,
Mm-hmm.
just, you're not doing very much work.
It's just exploitation.
Yeah.
I'm just getting something for nothing.
Yeah.
That is going to be chopped up and split and put into one of these without permission, all these little ClickFunnels videos. But so he's like, and it's like, well, no, that's actually not what's going to happen. In fact, I don't do that at all anymore. Had mistakenly in the past, not all. There have been commission split arrangements in the past that worked out well, but going forward is not necessary. And there's better ways to do that when a revenue share arrangement is appropriate. But certainly not with.
This is why agents love to listen.
I know. We shouldn't spend as much time. I know I should stop, but
they're part of the reason. And plus, they can't get this kind of information elsewhere. I mean, And I appreciate all the agents listening, but I that's nothing new, in my career. I've been told countless times, oh yeah, I used to write life insurance, or oh yeah, my dad wrote life insurance, or oh yeah, I've had a license before. Well, hell, everybody and their brothers had a life insurance license, right? You take A.L. Williams, multi-level marketing, and the new IMOs today that sell IUL on the IMO level, but it's really multi-level marketing level. I don't want to mention any names, but if you're a life insurance agent and you have an IMO contract, IMO is an independent marketing organization, many of which are owned by the life insurance companies. I mean, it's just like red flag after red flag, suspect after suspect. Yeah. That is marginal business at best, in my opinion, IMO business. And I'm not saying anything that I don't clearly convey directly to every officer that I come in contact with in the life insurance industry. I'm talking about VPs, presidents, vice presidents, CEOs, all the way up. They'll probably quit inviting me around, because I continually bust their chops. Anyway, so I'm just saying that very common that, oh yeah, I've had a life insurance license. Well, everybody's had a life insurance license. It's because everybody thinks it's easy, and it's easy money, and you're overpaid, and all your friends love you and want to buy from you. I don't know, but so these IMOs, they don't know how to sell life insurance. Right? They don't know how to market other than 1950. Knock on the door, mail card, or like the gentleman that called yesterday. Oh, James, I've been looking at your website and all your online content, and it's great content marketing, but it takes a lot of time and blah 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 and blah blah blah. I mean, that's like 2000 marketing, isn't it? Creating content and then put it out on Facebook or wherever, and put an offer out there with flashy ads that you can't escape from on Facebook. And I told the guy yesterday, I'm like, my skin's already crawling when you mention Facebook ads, because I think it's fun for me. I don't have much downtime, but when I pull up Facebook to see what's going on with my peeps all across the country whom I dearly love and have to socially distance from, I get I get these ads, it's like they're they're stalking ads on anything to do with infinite banking, or whatever variation there is, a special 10,000-year-old secret money supply or money code. So I get stalked, which everybody does. All of y'all get, stalked by these Facebook ads. Right. I love the commentary when they're promoting annuities or they're promoting life insurance of any kind, whatever, however they name it. I love the commentary when they don't turn off the comments. Oh my gosh, it's like so entertaining. So the guy's talking to me yesterday, and I'm like, yeah, I think that's 1999 marketing, and that's very entertaining for me. Yeah, to read that. I
get those kind of things from LinkedIn a lot. The people who are the marketing gurus who want to contact, and it's red flag after red flag already when it's every buzzword possible. Yeah. We're going to generate new business, generate leads, and
it's inbound marketing.
I don't even know the whole lexicon because I'm not interested. Right. It's like, okay, which is not a good way to approach somebody in like a business to business context. It's like, it might be a good idea to do a little bit of research and maybe watch a podcast, I don't know, and just see if that would even be appetizing. Right. And it's not, and part of me thinks it's like, we talked about the business and the industry and the agents, but I think this is also good for the consumer to hear.
No question.
Because what's not out there is much discussion of how to identify who to work with. And so we were talking shortly before we started that, someone had emailed in and was asking you if there was somebody who you knew in this particular
the Northeast
area of the country.
U.S.
Yeah. But then finish that email with, or is distance even important?
Right.
And that's kind of, which, no. I mean, you might want to see somebody in person, but it's not necessary. It's not necessary. We were people all over the country. But what I like in that is a recognition of what people don't know, you know, and that's great. Like if we're aware of what we don't know, awesome. We can go and demystify and clarify and specify and articulate all that and identify the unknowns and then go and address them so that they become known, right? That's great. And the opposite of it,
yes.
where we're not cognizant, we just not even aware of what's not known, yet operate from what we already do know. It's all back to Nelson. It's the arrival syndrome. It's just a variation of the arrival syndrome. It's that we've already arrived. Where else is there to go? We're already there.
Well,
you know?
And the noise, you know, if you don't know what you don't know, that is just recognizing that there may be something that we don't know, right? Who doesn't want to be in that position? And the position that we don't want to be in is the exact opposite. We don't want to be taken advantage of because we don't know something. That's where the ClickFunnels marketing kind of smoke and mirrors, you know, shell game, my words, and I'm not talking about anyone in particular. It's like, oh my gosh, Nelson never did extravagant illustrations, PowerPoints, and examples of how you can get a 14% rate of return. Ever.
Right.
Ever.
And I think sometimes there's a disconnect. Like people think that, not all people, but there's a perception that the marketing is one thing and then the experience with doing business with that entity is a separate thing. And they're not, right? It's like you know a tree by its fruit. You know, I call it it's like fast food. Fast food's available. It's out there.
Yeah.
You can go eat that if you want. I mean,
a short amount of time.
If you're not afraid to capitalize, thinking long term, want to be an honest banker, thinking intergeneration, like if you're abiding by what Nelson taught, maybe you don't go do the fast food approach to finance. And so it's like, what I want to get to here is that helping people put together a way to think about choosing someone to work with. And I'm not even saying you got to choose me or you. I mean, it's not about that. It's like putting
the better choice.
You'd be right. You can't go wrong. But I get people on the phone and they're exasperated. They're confused, frustrated, irritated, and the confusion and the irritation and the frustration comes from the uncertainty of it all and not having anything to hang our thinking on, right? Proper classification, all goes back to Nelson. Proper classification. You know, in order to properly classify, you need a classification system, you know, and how to discern the sort of individual you would want to work with.
So wait. And now you classify things by their major characteristics. Okay, so it's not like we have to have some unknown esoteric method or system of classification.
Right.
Right?
It's available to us.
It's apparent.
Yes.
If you're paying attention.
Yeah.
Right, and everyone is paying attention, my belief.
Yeah.
Right.
And to an extent, like I harp a lot on this, on illustrations. Everybody I talk to, it's like before we even talk about illustrations, I always say, now you've heard the podcast, so you know how I feel about illustrations. And then they always laugh. And so I don't want to beat a dead horse, don't get me wrong, but
please don't.
But at the same time, I feel for the people who think they're doing what Nelson taught, who think they're doing infinite banking as it was enumerated and explained in Becoming Your Own Banker, who end up with the fast food, who end up with, let me get an illustration in front of you fast enough. And I've had people who reach out and say, one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you was because I can tell it's a passionate kind of thing.
Sure.
And yes, it absolutely is. You know?
Daylight to dark, right?
Yeah. And this is one of the things that gets me triggered, that gets me passionate, is the treatment of the concept, of the product, of just the contract, of dividend paying whole life. I mean, put aside the whole infinite banking concept philosophy, just the abuse of the contract alone is irritating.
Well,
but then you add it's all additive. When it rains, it pours.
Yeah.
And if one thing's gone wrong, it's like, there's probably a list. Maybe not. Other things could be fine, and it could be one fluke. Maybe one element of the process that just doesn't seem to fit, but usually not the case.
We're all human. We can make a mistake or overlook something, and
I do. I mean, we've got mistakes that are constantly being not constantly, but we're regularly examining the processes to improve and to optimize from there. And
well, the not knowing what you don't know, recognizing that. I think is a great position. I know as a young man, one of the turning points in my philosophy, foundational philosophy, is I don't have to know everything. I don't have to be responsible for everything, and it's probably best that I don't know everything. Right? So I'm in a position that I know I don't know everything. I don't even know what I don't know, but what I do know, I know, right? And I'm open to learning. I had a conversation with a banker the other day. He's telling me,
I'm sorry to hear that.
One thing, and yeah, no question. He had a degree too, so I speak English. He speaks English, right? But we there was a failure to communicate, as that old Cool Hand Luke would say. What we have here is a failure to communicate. So if you're 45ish or more or older, do you know who Cool Hand Luke was? Oh my gosh, Steve McQueen, black and white movie, Cool Hand Luke. You got to look it up, okay? All right. So I'm talking with a banker. He's educated, has a degree, prestigious Texas college. I know he can read. I know he speaks English. I know he can communicate. But, I mean, I had to convey a concept. I attempted to convey a concept 4 times in a short conversation. Yeah. And he wasn't getting it. So, I mean, you have to try.
That prompt might have not been on the script that he's used to following.
Yeah, right. So I'm just saying that it's okay not to know, but you get into a position if you fall for these easily low level, very shallow products or constructs of life insurance. So and what I'm saying is there's a lot of stuff out there. You got to step over a lot of junk to get to some good stuff, in my opinion, and I think this is some good stuff right here, and there's a bunch of it, so spend time there, and then compare and compete and contrast and do whatever it is you got to do or want to do or you need to do to make the best decision for you and your family. But we get a lot of contacts from people that is like, I've done this, then I discovered you and the podcast or y'all, and it's like, would you look at this, or I'm not okay with this anymore, or how bad a mistake did I make, and so there's a lot of that, and it's okay. Look, we're all playing catch up. When we discovered the infinite banking concept, and it wasn't 20 years ago, we're all playing catch up. I don't care how old you are. So, and I understand we're aging. We're all aging in this conversation. Time is of the essence, but you don't have to shortcut your learning curve and make a decision that's not, maybe in the best interest. Yeah. In your best interest.
Yeah. A lot of this revolves around, how to approach the conversation, how to find somebody, how to, how to figure out what you do and don't know and what still needs to be identified and then understood. And I want to set the context here. I mean, Becoming Your Own Banker was published in 2000. We're here in 2020. Okay, 20 years. Nelson Nash Institute, was it 2011, 2013? I think it was Infinite Banking Institute, and then it was Nelson Nash Institute.
It was 2012 because I released the Banking with Life DVD 2013, 100-year anniversary of the Federal Reserve. Okay. And that was at the first formal Nelson Nash Institute think tank. Prior to that, it was just, Nelson Nash think tank.
So round numbers, round up, 10 years of systematic, as an industry, a cognizant, a self-aware niche within the industry, and then people actively working in it. And then you look at something like YouTube, and you look at the things revolving around just in this general world of dividend-paying whole life, of
banking, cash flows, life insurance,
all the various
rate of
terminology.
return.
What's that? Maybe 5 years if that, again, I'm being generous, of like a real active promotion online of this kind of stuff, and it's always heating up. There's always more.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And you
Mm-hmm.
always discover a new 20-year-old who's brand new, but they've been, spent the last 10 years of their life studying it.
Or wait, the older guy who just discovered that, he can record himself on an iPhone.
Right.
Or the older person. I'm with you.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do all this stuff.
So this is new. Point is, this is fairly new.
Yeah.
And so I think it's legitimate that people are searching for a way to figure out how to correctly identify a good fit for them. And I'm not going to tell you how to go and approach somebody. Like, do you? I mean, I'm as libertarian as they come, but I do have a few suggestions, right? And one of them is not necessarily to put someone on the hot seat and be like, I'm going to quiz you or I'm going to vet you.
My gosh.
That antagonistic, hostile sort of, I'm not interested. And if you start off by throwing around big numbers, I'm extra not interested. Yeah. So there's certain things that are a turnoff, and there's certain things though that oftentimes it comes from a good place. You're wanting to get
Well, it comes from what they don't know.
Right.
I mean, often it comes from, I don't know life insurance, right? I don't know financial. I don't deal with a lot of financial people. And so you're already suspect as a salesman. You're going to sell me something. I'm talking from the consumer standpoint.
Yeah.
And so they come as like very offensively defensive. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because, talk about stories from the front lines and things. The last one that like triggered me, it's almost an insult. There's 10 questions submitted in an email, and the 8 times out of 10 questions, 8 times there was a question on my commission.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait a minute, you're worried about the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Right. Because anyway,
I mean, there was a gentleman who new to the process. I hope it works out. We had a great first conversation. Was probably the best experience I've had of somebody legitimately inquiring about how pay works in the business.
Sure.
Because they don't know.
They don't know.
And
they don't know how to ask about it, really.
Right.
Other than straightforward. How do you get paid? I tell my clients exactly how I get paid.
Yeah.
And have no qualms about it.
Right.
And you know what? My clients want me to get paid.
Yeah.
They do not want me to work for free. Right. And I don't want anybody. I don't want the IT people to work for free. I don't want the yard guy, the lawn guy.
So the IT people could work for less.
True that. Okay. Sorry.
But so the way he approached it was, and of course he had been a business owner, built a successful business, sold it, was now working for the company, helping manage with the company that he had sold the business to, and had clients, understood the way, and so genuinely didn't know. And so I don't want people to get the impression that, you can't ask about pay. It's like, no, it's legitimate to ask about it. Doesn't hurt to watch the podcast. We've talked about it a lot, but you can also ask about it. I mean, I'll repeat what I said, and that's fine. It goes off the rails when it gets hostile or antagonistic. And if you feel, in anything, if I'm in a situation as a consumer myself in any line of business where I'm uncomfortable, where I have to feel antagonistic and I have to extract information from a service provider or a seller of some item or good or service, that's just not something I'm interested in doing. And I'm not interested in a business, a commercial capacity, in being involved in perpetuating that kind of relationship. Frankly, absolutely. Because it gives capitalism a bad name, right? And I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in it philosophically. I'm not interested in it professionally. I'm not interested in it personally. And so that's getting back to where I was going here with this, is that my positive encouragement is, you don't have to seek it out antagonistically, but I believe, especially with something that's such a big decision, a financial decision of this magnitude, of you're changing the way you manage your finances for maybe not even your own life, but also your kids' lives and their kids' lives. Like, it's a big decision. And so it's okay for questions of philosophy and values to come up early on. You know, and I don't get asked. I have never once been asked, "Hey Ryan, what's your philosophy on policy design?" Nobody asked me that. But
I think it's because they don't know, or they already know.
I think that it just, I don't think it occurs to people to ask about it. Mm-hmm. And that's fine. They don't have to ask about it. I'm going to bring it up, right? And I'm going to say, you know, and I've said it before on this, maybe once or twice before, you know, philosophy in terms of policy design or policy management or the infinite banking concept is like philosophy in other areas of life. Most people have not articulated it. Mm-hmm. They just haven't spent the time. Sure. And my encouragement is that we should. Consumers should. The industry should. Life insurance companies should. Like, it's okay to spend time, because that, and where I'm going with this is that, you know, we talk about how, you know, just because we appear on the practitioner finder at the Nelson Nash Institute does not mean that everybody else who also appears there does business the same way. And
correct.
And the longer I spend and the more time I spend with clients, the more I see just in the various ways that's true, right? And it's really helped me, because I used to get, I mean, I still get fired up about it, no question, but it's taken some of the edge off when I see the other internet, I'm not lumping myself in with it. When I see internet marketer type people who, you know, put up the illustrations and the third-party software and they run the super questionable comparisons. Side note, if you're gonna post a video and you're going to attempt to prove, strong word, super strong word, you're going to attempt to prove an approach you have using not only illustrations, bad enough, but illustrations from different companies. I mean,
and third-party software,
without mentioning other things like the recognition policy or dividend payment history or whether there's loans outstanding. There's a book called How to Lie with Statistics.
Ooh.
Oh my gosh. Illustrations is just, it's one manifestation of ways to, and it's not even like, I'm not even assuming that people are being malicious doing it. I think it's all that most people in the business feel they have to work with, and so that's what they're using. I'm not even sure the life insurance companies are super wild about their illustration software being shown on YouTube.
Surely they can't be. No, I've listened. There's only two types of advisors out there that promote things like Index Universal Life, the greatest, latest product designed by Wall Street and the life insurance companies, foisted on the unsuspecting American public. I've said this for 10 years. And so whenever, there's only two types. Whenever an advisor is mesmerizing the client with illustrations and third-party software, there's two types of agents or advisors that do that, in my humble opinion. And I know I'm going to get a lot of hate email and the dislikes. I get it. You know, if you keep coming back and listening and you're an agent, to hit dislike, just move on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. They're either honest and they don't know what they don't know, which is legitimate, or they're less than honest and they know what they're doing. My opinion, two types. I've said this across the country in rooms full of agents. So I'm not saying anything new here. And then, so that's for you to determine.
Yeah.
All right. Caveat emptor, you know, okay. And then you have the dependency. So the agent, the advisor who doesn't know, right, the difference between products and illustrations and designs and things like that, then they're becoming dependent upon that third-party software to make a sale, to get to the yes. Somebody can say, oh, those numbers are great. I believe it. Yes, transaction happens. Somebody gets paid. And I just think that there's a better way. So if you don't start at the philosophy of the infinite banking concept, which is clearly conveyed in Nelson's work, you don't have to be a rocket scientist. And I have no sympathy for, it's typically the agent or the advisor says, no, I'm not going to read a book. Or, oh, we're not going to make you read a book. Man, if you want to do business with an ignorant, which is not a bad word, they don't know.
Yeah.
Client, let me know. I don't even want you to know how I don't want you to tell me how that works out. I know how it works out. I see it, and I have seen it for 30 years.
Yeah.
The best solutions come from an educated client and an educated advisor, my opinion. Okay? So if you make a mistake and everybody's educated, that's probably an honest, legitimate mistake. But if one's less than knowledgeable or ignorant on a subject and one is, and there's some disadvantage being taken advantage of, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't stand that. All right. So I'm just saying that that's part of the noise, right? Just running all these illustrations, third-party software. I've got a client coming up. This is going to be a guest, a relatively new client, has practiced the infinite banking concept for over 10 years, right? And right after he started, and I don't want to tell his whole story, but if you listen to the guest podcast, you'll be able to make this connection. The guy met Nelson, 10 years ago, loves the idea. He goes all in. His agent retires that year or the next year. He gets assigned by the company as an orphan to another agent who happened to be in an IMO that said he knew something about the infinite banking concept. And so the guy's out there flailing in the wind, pretty much doing the right thing.
Yeah.
But, and then starts doubting himself, all right, and gets engaged with some of these marketers that we're speaking of, or about the same type of marketer that we're talking about. And so they take him through this third-party software to show him how bad his 10-year-old policy is compared to the latest, greatest version of whatever the guy was promoting. Right, and has him convinced, walks away from these online meetings feeling like he has made such a mistake over the last 10, can't believe when he thought he was doing the right thing, felt terrible about it. And he reached out. We had a couple of conversations, and I just went through his policy and showed him how it was performing. I hate to even use that word.
I know.
What he could do, what it has done, where he's at. And he was amazed. He's like, oh my gosh. You would never get rid of that policy. I mean, I'm like, I'd write you a check for that today.
Ooh,
right?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh my gosh. So that was manipulation based on ignorance, his ignorance, and somebody manipulating it with third-party software. I mean, it's just one thing that's wrong in the industry.
Yeah.
So it is okay to, and if you look at the NNI practitioners program, I don't vouch for those individuals individually. I know an awful lot of them. The ones I know, I would vouch for. The ones I don't know, I don't know.
Right.
But I'm an ardent supporter of the Nelson Nash Institute. Right. So, and I'm okay with that. That's a place that professionals can learn about the infinite banking concept from the original source. Right. Are they perfect? No, they're all human beings. They're not perfect. But I must say, lately, over the last several weeks, and I don't ask for them, and I'm not asking you to send me any illustrations. Okay. Please. If I want you to send me an illustration, I will directly ask you, would you please send that? Which is going to be a very, very rare occasion. But I'm saying all that to say this. Somebody reached out to our office through the practitioners program and sent these illustrations from two other practitioners, from two other companies, two other designs. And I didn't ask for them. And he's asking me to look at them and then to, give him a solution. I have a phone call. And I'm like, why are you calling me is what I asked. Why are you calling me? Well, I expect this based on some of this trash that's out in the big wide world. His expectations were completely unrealistic and out of line for a legitimate policy design that is not going to jeopardize the integrity of a policy. Okay. Stay with me, Mr. Griggs.
I'm with you.
All right. So first question was, why are you calling us? Have you considered these two? And I was so proud. I even called David, or I didn't call him, but in the next conversation that David Stearns and I had, I said, oh, by the way, these two particular illustrations were some of the best illustrations I've seen. And I was
of the bunch.
Yes, I mean, but they they came from practitioners of the Nelson Nash Institute. So it made me very proud. And then I just scolded the man, in love, right? Like, quit looking. Your expectations are out. Make a decision with one of these gentlemen and move on. Embrace it and love it and do it, so.
Well, that's a positive story.
It's a very positive story.
I haven't had an experience like that yet. But that's great that it happens.
Yeah, it is. I was quite pleased that it happened, so.
Yeah, great. Awesome.
I didn't know either one of the individuals. I'm just looking at the illustration, understanding what that man was telling me and what said he was told them. They built a solution, and I'm like, then this is you. This is not them.
I wonder what was missing from that. Like what?
I think he wanted to go cash on cash in 3 years. I think.
Okay.
That was one of the things. And then the other was
fast food.
I don't even remember what the other ones were, but I mean, he didn't even know what he needed to ask. He didn't know what he didn't know. So you have marketers trying to take advantage of your ignorance, right? In my opinion. And the others, and he could view them all as marketers. I don't know. From my point of view, it's like he couldn't do either one of those quick enough.
Yeah. I think what happens out there a lot is because there is a lot of uncertainty and confusion, and dividend paying whole life's an unknown asset, and people have never heard the words infinite banking and concept put together in one phrase before, and most people never got the chance to meet Nelson. Most people won't go buy his 6 hour, 8 hour, however long it is, seminar.
8 hours.
I think the one that's on sale is 6, but it's,
okay. Sorry,
he did different iterations, and this was one from later. I think it was in 2012, and it was when he did the later ones. Some of them he abridged and were short.
Yeah, that was the one he was supposed to shoot at my venue, and
it might actually be at your venue.
Oh, really?
I think he says because I've heard your voice in the background. I think it's
perfect.
If it's not here, it was in Fort Worth, I think.
Yeah, it wouldn't be here. It'd probably be in Fort Worth. I don't know.
Anyway, a lot of people haven't had that experience. They haven't had the exposure. And so the default, I think human beings just naturally, we want what's right. We want the correct solution. Yeah. And so we look for what's correct in order to then sort out the other things as incorrect. And my suggestion is that a more fruitful operational approach could be to just search for what aligns with what you want to do, right? Now, I think there is a right way and an incorrect way, a right way and a wrong way to build dividend paying whole life. But I'm also cognizant of the fact that my value judgment there is based on the philosophy that I bring to what we're doing, to infinite banking and to dividend paying whole life. And so, listen, if you want a policy, because we said, and we've talked about in the past, the idea that the integrity of a policy could be jeopardized. I mean, that's value-laden language, no question. We mean every word of it. But listen, at the end of the day, if somebody wants that, I mean, what am I going to do? Am I going to go tackle you and prevent you from signing the dotted line? Like, if you want to eat fast food, go eat fast food. If that's what somebody asked,
don't expect for your numbers to become grossly out of line.
Yeah,
eating fast food, right?
Exactly. Just know what you're getting. I mean,
waist size.
My encouragement, my hope would be that you know what you're getting.
And I don't think they do most of the time,
right? But
or they wouldn't do that.
Exactly.
I mean, if you knew the result of eating, fast food for 20 years, would you legitimately eat fast food for 20 years?
No. But it feels good. It looks right. The advertising's nice. The people
it's easy. It's convenient.
Yeah, it's convenient.
We should probably get burgers or pizza.
They didn't make me read a book.
Oh my gosh! Right.
Right. The analogy really lines up. I'm not claiming too much credit there, but the analogy really lines up. Okay. But all I'm saying is that it comes down to, does the philosophy align? Are you abiding by what Nelson suggested? Are you thinking long-term?
Can I just get a policy? I mean, do I have to go through this long, drawn-out process of discovery of what is right for someone?
Listen, if you
want to just pay a premium,
if you want to take a major, life-altering financial decision and commoditize it and hope to get it done in 2 weeks, okay, I mean,
there's plenty of opportunity for that to happen.
Yeah,
it doesn't really happen here.
Well, I won't allow it to happen. I mean, the same gentleman I was referring to earlier, we had a very positive conversation. He's like, I really like your approach. I could tell you're very passionate, but it's not pushy. Like, I can tell you're not trying to get the sale done. And I said, well, I'm glad that comes through. I mean, I never explicitly said that to him, but I didn't say, listen, I'm not trying to push you, but he understood that from my way of my approach.
You have to say that if we're engaged in something and you have to say that you're not pushing, I'm going to automatically assume that you're pushing.
Right. Well, and so I even told him, I was like, in fact, I have the opposite problem most of the time, is that I got to slow people down.
Yeah.
It's like,
absolutely.
no, we have to, you need to, if I go out and hit, I tell every client of mine that's listened to this has heard this before, you should know what you own, why you own it, and how to maintain it so that if I get hit by a bus tomorrow, you're not in the dark.
Yep.
And then I say, we want it to be, I'm giving all this away for free. All these agents listen to this, but it's okay. I tell people, you shouldn't need me. It's becoming your own banker. And what I have found is that people are like, well, what if I want to call you? and then so I have to say, well, I want that to be where we start. That should be the foundation. And once that foundation is laid, we can build from there. And the nature of those conversations, like I've had a few, as I was traveling to California to visit family this past couple weeks, had a couple calls on the road with current clients who just wanted to know my opinion on what's going on with the dollar, what's going on with the Fed.
He's trying to work into Austrian economics right here.
Well, I'm just saying that was the nature. It fits perfectly. That was just the nature of these conversations. But they didn't need me. They didn't need those conversations in order for them to manage what they've already acquired.
Sure.
Right. It's just we now have the ability as independent, autonomous individuals to have a mutually beneficial conversation, and it's like, what's that worth? And so this same gentleman who was like, oh, we need to split commission because I have a life insurance license. Yeah, he also said, well, okay, if we can't do the policy, maybe I could just hire you on. And by the way, let me say, because he listens. Hold on, because he
pay
listens.
You for your time.
He listens to the podcast, and he's watched my the talk I gave in 2019 and 2020, and he had very nice things to say about.
He's probably a great guy.
Capital and the stuff and he said that really helped him see it. So I'm not being hard on him, but I'm just being hard on some of the things.
An example?
Yeah. I mean, it's just what it is. Like, we don't agree on that. And I told him, I was like, we're not going to be able to work together. But one of the things he said.
But y'all did come to an agreement, right? And
well, I told him how it was going to go. But one of the things he said was, but maybe I could hire you on a fee basis. And I'm like, I mean, I'll tell you a number, but it's going to be really high. Like, because the lack of understanding about the nature of opportunity cost. It's not that I want to exploit people and take all their money and be a service. I don't even want to do that. Like, I don't even put up the option. You can't go to my website and click hire Ryan as a consultant, right? It doesn't happen.
Don't you have a speaker's fee though? I mean, when the lockdown lightens up.
Why you got to talk about that? I mean, that there can be ways that happens, but we don't publicize it. I'm not interested in it because the value, the opportunity cost is so high. And I've even had agents I've had to explain this to. It's like, there are certain things I can't do. I don't, and it's not because I don't want to. If I had endless time, if there weren't 24 hours in a day, and if I was immortal, then I could spend all my personal time doing all the things I want to do.
Of course.
But in a commercial capacity, opportunity cost applies in both, but especially in a commercial capacity where there really is a monetary price on things. It's like an hour spent with a client who, I mean, the contract's been signed, right? The commission cycle, in fact, he was more than a year into the process. There was no giant check in the mail because we were having this conversation, right? But the quality of the conversation was tremendous. And it's like, if I could have that kind of conversation with somebody who I've built the appropriate relationship with, we've laid the proper foundation, we've gone through a process. If I can have that conversation, or I can go charge somebody who I don't know, a relationship that I haven't built, that's already starting off on the wrong footing. I don't even know if our philosophy aligns. And you're going to pay me? It's like,
yeah.
No, thank you.
Then in that situation, that implies, or that would then imply that money is the object.
Right.
It's like, and it's so not. Well, you there's a lot there. I don't want to jump over all of it because, this is becoming your own banker. I've talked about that 2 years ago in the think tank. It is becoming your own banker. And whenever you have clients call you, right? And there's nowhere to put this on the illustration, right? Or your fee structure, your commission structure, your enumeration, whatever you want to call it. And we all get paid. Nobody works for nothing. Nobody works for free, nor should they. Every worker is worthy of his hire. Okay. Becoming your own banker. I had about 3 or 4 conversations this week with the existing clients, or I think one of them was like very early becoming a client, gone through taking delivery of his first policy, which is a legitimate young man. I'm very proud of you. As a matter of fact, I'm very proud of all of our clients because I feel like they get it and they've done their research, and my clients generally know more than the average agent in the life insurance industry.
Above average agent.
I'm telling you. So, and it takes time. You cannot get that in a 30-minute podcast. You cannot get that in a 1-hour phone call. You cannot get that from reading Nelson's book. I'm a slow reader. It took me 3.5 to 4 hours, and I had to do it more than once. Anyway, several conversations this week. And, well, James, I'm buying this, I'm buying that. Should I do this with the loan and that? And what should I do? How should I look at this correctly? Because we're all surrounded by noise.
Yeah.
Day in, day out, every one of us. When it comes to the infinite banking concept, and we're into it, we're going down these deep dives and these rabbit holes and all of this stuff and all of this reading and all this latest book. Everybody's got a dadgum book out, and God bless you for reading. I mean, I wish I had the time to read. I legitimately have 3 books within me, and I think 4 or 5. I know you have too, and I know we could create a couple. All right. Time is scarce. So I'm just saying, these people are doing the right thing. They're building capital. Number one in all of economics. Number one, capital formation. It is not, the infinite banking concept is not about a rate of return. It is about who is controlling the banking function. Every life insurance policy, I don't care if it's stock company, mutual company, direct, non-direct, IUL, UL, VUL, IUL, Index Universal Life. Okay, they've dropped the I, right? Or no, they used to be Fixed Index Universal Life. Now they've dropped the F, and it's Index Universal Life.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was 2, Equity Index Universal Life, and there's 2 or 3 of them. It's funny how the companies change their names, and I can continue on that too. I do want to come back to that because words have meaning. All right, words have meaning. They have power as well. And you change the words, you can attempt to change the meaning. So then we can attempt to convey and keep people in confusion, right? It's just...
And you start pointing out the meaning of certain words, like what annually renewable means in annually renewable term. Mm-hmm. Ooh, people don't like that.
No. Okay, wait. Don't throw me off here. All right. The look at this pandemic, right, which is what it is. There's a legitimate virus, and there's more than one strain, and one may be more contagious and deadly than the other. There's still, I think, a 99.9578% survival rate. Thank God. Okay. I think about 20. I don't know. I think 15 to 20% of the small businesses are probably not going to be able to recover.
Ooh, that's generous.
I know I'm being generous. All right. So, and I think if a large majority of those companies that will not be able to recover, if they had access to capital, they might have been able to last longer and maybe even potentially recover. Okay. So,
or adequately exit.
On their own terms, controlled terms. So, who's controlling the banking function? Right. Okay. I just want to kind of wrap this up. The conversations I've had, these people have the noise on them. They got to get the noise off. We all have to do that. is capital formation. Oh, you mean in the real estate industry, in the real estate business, a lot of deals have been closed. These real estate deals are not, they're maintaining liquidity, reducing maybe distributions, right? Because it's a smart thing to do. Who could have predicted that 6 months ago? Who could have predicted that we're all going to be on a lockdown, which is unconstitutional, illegitimate, unreasonable, and unscientific? I know that's a big debate out there. Oh, you're anti-science. What?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Becoming, and I spoke about this several years ago at the Nelson Nash think tank. This is becoming your own banker. It took Nelson 14 years to get rid of the snakes and dragons. All right. And he said the ordinary American, it would take about 14 years. And this was in 1980. The man had been buying life insurance, paying for it since he was 14 years of age. Mm-hmm. He became a licensed life insurance agent in 1964, 50 years later. He had been buying life insurance, became a life insurance agent, and now go forward 16 more years to 1980, 64. I should be better with math, I know.
16.
Okay, 1980.
Yeah.
Has all this uber amount of outstanding loans through third-party lenders. And he's even generous in his book. He doesn't talk about the attorney that bankrupted on him and his other partner. There were 3 partners in a deal. One bankrupted the attorney, and he did not. The other partner did not. So the 2 partners that did not file bankruptcy assumed the third party's liability. So even going through his story in 1980, becoming your own banker, he's being generous, Why? Because it's almost like he didn't want to scare people with the numbers.
Yeah.
All right. And so my point is becoming your own banker. It took him 14 years. I'm talking to 2 or 3 clients. It was actually 4 clients, 3 existing, 1 new, just trying to get their mind around, am I doing the right thing? Is this working like it's supposed to? We're doing this, that, and the other. And all of these, life happens. All of these things that we couldn't predict happens, right? Whenever you have a proper structure, right, with a legitimate, well-run mutual life insurance company that pays dividends even when there's outstanding loans, and you build it correctly so the consumer, the owner, can maintain control into the unknown future, it is hands down, that is how you start, where you start from, and how you become your own banker. So thanks for letting me go on that rant.
You're welcome.
I'm just saying that's part of keeping people between the lines. Nelson would say the hardest job he ever had was keeping his clients between the lines. Now think about that. Why? Because they're walking around. I ask my clients all the time, who do you know that's paying the same amount of premium? And I'll throw dollar amounts out. Who do you know is paying X number of dollars in premium in life insurance? Oh, I don't. So they're the Lone Ranger. We used to give out the Lone Ranger Award when we did live events. Nelson Nash talked about the Lone Ranger in his book. I don't remember what page it is. And so, 15 years ago, you didn't have all these videos and things on the internet. You legitimately feel like the Lone Ranger an awful lot of the time. So, part of keeping people between the lines. It's okay to stay on the lines. Mm-hmm. Stay between the lines. I'm just saying. Okay.
Well, I want to end with going back to that.
Wait. Do we have to end?
You have a meeting in 15 minutes. I want to go back to how, on the philosophy point, like there are certain things that, I've made comments. I wrote a blog about that really ruffled feathers about the use of an annually renewable term writer or a blended term PUA writer, and that just really got a couple of agents goat. But
because when they do it, and it's like the shoe fits, wear it, and then that triggers them. They have to justify their actions.
Yeah. I mean, that's
when their clients walk into the agent's office with Ryan Griggs' article or James Neathery's, Banking with Life DVD, and references our podcast.
Yeah.
He calls that individual to, why aren't we doing this? Or how does this line up? And they're like, oh my gosh, then they're defensive. They've got to defend their position.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I understand why they get angry.
Mm-hmm. And with I just want to call it what I've come to see it as, and it's not just with this blended term PUA rider that uses the annually renewable term, but it's also with indexing the dividend. I've had people contact me and tell me how they have decided not to work with others because they could not come to terms after this was raised in the discussion. Yeah. And that, to me, is legitimate. And to others, I understand. I know that the advisors think that I'm nitpicking, but I'm not, because what this is trying to sneak in elements of universal life into dividend paying whole life. And the reason it's done is so that you can illustrate something better.
That's right.
That's all that's happening.
No question. I can't wait till, we get to the work of index universal life insurance and the multipliers that they use to get around the NA, National Association of Insurance Commissioners, allowable interest that you can illustrate on a universal life policy. There's multipliers in the industry that they can use to go above those and still remain legal. It's like, I know that's a carrot. I'm throwing that out there. It's coming.
Well, I'll make it real simple. Here's why. With dividend paying whole life, you have to illustrate from the current experience of the company.
What?
With an index, anything indexed, you can start using historical time periods.
That's right.
And so it's, and what time period? Oh, I don't know.
Let's pick the highest one.
Arbitrary, yeah.
Or the intermediate.
Which one illustrates best?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why I'm so hard on it. I tell people, we get to illustrations. There's a part in the process. It's at the end, right? And now that people they've watched the podcast, they've read the book, we've had our conversations, and it's like, oh. And I show them how you can manipulate an illustration to make that puppy dance. And it's like, and then we never have to talk about it again. It's laid out. But this is one of the things, and I'm not. And so the story I was referencing there about an advisor that got upset about, had to have a conversation and everything, and I stood by it. And it's like, show me where I'm wrong.
In a lengthy, well-written article, in the form of an email, and then there's like 1 or 2 word responses.
And you know what? At the end of the day, it's not even about that.
I'm just commenting on the interaction,
right? Well, and I'm just trying to give people, because this is the problem in the industry. It's that we don't. Going back to the theme of this whole episode, it's that individuals have difficulty determining how to make a choice about who to work with and whether or not what's been put in front of them is good or not. And I'm trying to give people ways to think about how to come to that decision without even trying to tell you what is or is not right or wrong. That's why I'm saying you want to articulate what you want to do. If you want to work with, if you want what Nelson taught, then that means certain things. Every illustration in becoming your own banker is illustrated out over what Nelson gives someone to be their lifespan. Okay, we're already thinking long term. So don't come and talk to me about what the cash value is in year 3.
Or 10.
Right?
Or 7.
And we break this down. And all my clients know, we break this down. We talk about policy design. We talk about what the trade-offs are. And there is, it's about what's right for the individual. And it's I'm not dodging it when I say there's not a correct design. There is something that's appropriate for the individual. And I tell everybody who we talk to this, we're going to have an educational style conversation where we establish some essentials about what's going on. And as we do that, and we're going to do it in terms of your numbers. And at the end of that conversation, it's going to be clear. It's going to be clear as day what the appropriate direction is. And I won't even have to tell you that. You'll see it. And that's when that element of clarity, we talk about, Nelson used to say, IBC is more caught than it is taught. We talk about things clicking or a light bulb going on. All of those things, that moment of clarity comes when there is mutual understanding. And there's no antagonism. There's no hostility. There's no imposition. There's no ego. It's just clear. And it's like, oh my gosh, how quickly. You were talking about how high quality our clients are. I had to go back and have a second conversation with a gentleman who's about to go into underwriting because he wanted to pay so much premium. Life insurance companies don't listen to this anyway, but
can't get it past the underwriting.
Wanted to pay so much. I had to call him again and be like, listen, I know we're good. I mean, I know you know what's going on, but I just want to know 5 years from now that I went back and had a second conversation with you just to make sure we're on the same page about just how much. And it's not even about the absolute value of the numbers. It was the percentage of this person's particular income. It was like,
there are limitations to how much life insurance and how much premium anyone can pay.
The only product in American finance where your ability to purchase does not determine how much you're allowed to buy.
Ooh, say that again.
Life insurance is the only product in American finance where your ability to pay does not determine how much you can buy. Samsung does not care how many TVs you get so long as you got the money to buy it.
Yep.
Right? Only business. And think about that. I mean, the diamond in the rough, you got to work for it to get it. There's something to this here. It's like, gee, why do they want to why does all of the American financial corporations, these big conglomerates and the U.S. federal government, why, and the reputation that dividend paying whole life has, the IRS, why are there all these powers that seem to want to prevent you from buying dividend paying whole life built correctly? Wonder why that is.
Quink-a-dink.
Could it be
Keep your head down. Don't look up. Nothing going on here.
Maybe they want control of your capital. They tell you it's assets under management. Your assets under their management. They're telling you what they want to do. Yes, please. Let me take your financial resources from you so that we can go use it to our benefit. They're telling you what they want you to do. And it's the exact opposite in dividend paying whole life. So no coincidence there. Anyway,
we really didn't get into the dollar and the crash, which is they're very common questions. What if the economy crashes? What if the dollar is replaced? But let me tell you, this is July 11, 2020. There is the life insurance industry in the United States of America and the financial industry, the retirement industry in the United States of America. They are absolutely in the crosshairs of Congress. There is a legitimate, bona fide, articulated, planned, calculated effort to take over the financial industry in North America. And they want to do it just like they did the healthcare industry. So, and I'm saying that because it's true. Most people don't want to talk about it. Most people don't know about it, maybe. But I hear often, well, James, what's wrong with this? What if the IRS changes their mind? What if they, change their mind that you can't access this money tax-free? You know as well as I do, so I'm not saying anything that you don't already know or suspect or haven't experienced. And I'm an American. I'm a U.S. citizen. This is the greatest country that man has ever put together on the face of this earth. My opinion, and I think even better was prior to the 12 tribes of Israel being, operated without a king. All right. So there's that. And then all the shenanigans that have happened since then until now. This is, all right, am I clear? It's the greatest government that man has been able to put together, as imperfect as it is. All right. But they are lazy. They do not have any money that unless they've confiscated private property. Or they've created money out of thin air. They don't provide one legitimate service that can't better be performed by a truly free economy. All right. They're spending money, printing money out of thin air. I don't know what it is, 80 billion, 40 billion. We can ask Dr. Murphy what, the rate of money supply is and printing money. I don't know. It's staggering. Who can even count that high? Taxes have to go up in the future. Mm-hmm. They must go up in the future. So they're lazy. And I'm just saying that I hear it all the time. James, are they ever going to come after this? Are they ever going to change the rules? My gosh, yes. They're going to come after it. My gosh, yes, they're going to change the rules. They always change the rules, right? But I think they go after the easy money first. Yeah. The largest block of equities in the world is in the U.S. retirement system.
Tax
IRAs,
qualified plans,
401ks, qualified plans. Now, they've made an exception to the exception. All right. Here's onerous taxation. All right. That's an exception to the Constitution. All right. I mean, the permanent income tax, 1913, to pay off the Spanish-American War, that was started in 1898.
Here we are, 2020.
Okay, I'm just saying they're going to go after the easy money first, right? I could.
The last on the totem, the last in line, are dividend paying
private contract,
paying whole life.
And if I see them coming, everything that I have available is going to be outstanding in loans, and I'll be purchasing other real property that's cash flowing and appreciating.
Well, let me tie this in there too, though, because I tell people, even when modified endowment contract rules came in prior to June of 1988, contracts put in force prior to that date were grandfathered in.
Right.
The tradition has been, and tradition is not everything. It could be counteracted, no question, but the tradition has been when new regulation, new taxation, whatever it is comes in, things that are already in force are typically grandfathered in. And it makes sense for the confiscators, right? They don't want to upset the current order.
Sure.
And so they grandfather in people
it's
who
like
already
the
have
tick in the dog. It's the tick in the host, the parasite in the host. They want to suck just enough blood so the host stays alive.
Yeah.
That's what it never works out that way, right? They always kill the host. Okay.
Yes, but as far as really what it is, if and when there are new regulations or new taxation imposed on a dividend paying whole life, the current owners at that time will be the established interests.
Sure. Yeah.
Because the contract will have already been enforced. And so the way I think of it is y'all can't get to this fast enough. Because it very well could be the case that rules get changed, as they have been, as they were in the 80s.
No,
right?
Wait, the government changed their mind on anything. Are you kidding? It never happens, right? Well, let me say, too, that inside the industry, not that, I have I'm Tonto, Lone Ranger Tonto has the ear to the ground. I'm like the Star Wars, the ripping the universe. If it's happening in the infinite banking world, I like to think I can feel it. Okay. And this is in the insurance industry, not the infinite banking world per se, but the modified endowment contract guidelines have not been changed since 1986.
And we have new mortality tables.
3 or 4 times. So
yeah,
a lot of the companies were using the 1958 mortality table in 86, although they changed in 80, then they changed again in 90 something, 2001, and then recently, 2017, which had to be implemented by January 1 of 2020, which there's a whole nother several episodes that we can talk about why the differences of what Nelson did in 1980 when he discovered it and printed the book in 2000. Here we are in 2020.
I really find that the only people that have problems with the discrepancy are agents.
Yeah.
Individuals.
Or people who have gone way too deep in the noise in the marketing.
They email you their Excel spreadsheets.
Yeah, but let me say that there's an awful lot of talk or expectation that the IRS is going to come around and adjust upward the modified endowment contract limit. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not holding my breath. Which they should, but I don't think, they're too busy printing money. Why are they going to worry about it?
The only thing the IRS should do is go home. But listen, somebody turned off the air conditioning and you have a meeting coming up.
All right, well, listen, I had fun. And I got to shoot an intro. All right, thanks for listening.
See y'all.
Thank you for joining us on the Banking with Life podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe and click on that little notification bell. Otherwise, join us on Apple Podcasts and Stitcher for weekly content.